Hello again. Welcome to my website, and thank you for clicking on the video to try to figure out who is this guy. Who is John Puryear, and why is John Puryear doing what he's doing? And I am the owner of John Puryear EMSCE. I am John Puryear, and I'm the one that lectures on all the continuing education classes on my website. Now, I started EMS in 1983. Guys, I'm an old guy. I know that. I've been doing this for a long period of time. It started when I was in high school, when I was a junior in high school. Now, you got to understand, my dad was my principal in high school. So anything that I could do to get out of class, then I was on it. I was ready to get out of class. Now, it had its benefits and it had its perks, for having your dad principal, but anyway, I sure did want to get out of class. And my best friend, Joe Longley, he came to school one day, and he had this great big pager. Okay, back in 1983, the pagers looked like these HTs of today. They were huge. Then he came to school, and he had this thing on his hip, and I looked at him, and I said, "Hey, what's that?" And he goes, "Well, it's a pager." And I said, "Okay, well, what for? Why do you need a pager?" And he goes, "I'm a proud member of the Everman Volunteer Ambulance Squad." Everman, Texas. That's a little town that I grew up in. And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah. Whenever this pager goes off, I get to get out of class. I can stand up and I can walk straight out of class. I can go get in my car. I can turn the hazard lights on and I can blow through all the stop signs and then get to where the ambulance is and then drive the ambulance fast with lights in the woo-woos and blow all the lights and stop signs and everything. It's great." And I looked at him. I said, "Wait a minute. You get to get out of class when that goes off?" And he goes, "Well, yeah." And I'm like, "Dude, I want one of those. How do I get one of those?" And he said, "Well, there's a meeting tonight, so I can go to the meeting and I can tell them that, my best friend wants to be a member of the ambulance squad too, and we'll see what they say." So that night, I became a proud member of the Everman Volunteer Ambulance Squad. and I got this pager that I got to carry on my hip. And when it went off, I got to get out of class. I did. It went off one time. And when it went off, I kind of sat there and I didn't know what to do. And the teacher just kind of stopped teaching and looked at me and she goes, "Well, you going to go?" And I stood up and I went out of class and it was wonderful. I ran down the hall, jumped in my truck, turned the hazards on, drove fast, busted all the stop signs, had a good time. But I had no training. And that's what I told him. I said, "Joe, you don't have any training. How are you getting on the ambulance squad? You don't know how to take care of people." And he told me, he's like, "Well, they said I don't have to know what I'm doing. I don't I don't have to know how to take care of people." And I'm like, "You're kidding me." He goes, "No, they said they're going to send me to training. They're going to send me to something called EMT school, and then I'll learn how to take care of people on the ambulance." And I'm like, "Okay, well, sure enough, I got on the Everman Volunteer Ambulance Squad, and I had absolutely no training whatsoever. None. They sent me to a CPR class. So Joe's neighbor, my best friend, his neighbor was a nurse, and she was an AHA CPR instructor. And Joe and I went over there, and we took a 4-hour CPR class. Well, man, I was hooked. That was it. All of a sudden, I knew that this was in my blood. And I knew that I was destined to be a medic. I felt that my calling was here in EMS. So I went to this 4-hour CPR school class, got my CPR card, went to a basic first aid class after that. Then I went to ECA school. And ECA in Texas is called an emergency care attendant. It's actually a 40-hour first responder, basic first aid class. And boy, when I got my ECA certification, I thought I was a doctor. I thought that I knew everything at that point. So then I went to EMT school, EMT, and got my basic. After that, I went to intermediate. It was called special skills back then, but I got my intermediate. And then I finally went to paramedic school. So I started, just as a volunteer and then worked for a large EMS private service called MedStar, and it's in Fort Worth, Texas. And they took over in 1986. Well, in 1987, I became an EMT for MedStar in Fort Worth, Texas. That was part-time. That was my fun job. I worked for a school district. I was the assistant maintenance director at that time. Mowed grass, took care of carpentry and plumbing and everything. And anyway, went from part-time status, and I was a professional rodeo clown. Ended up breaking my neck. I had a fusion at C5 and C6. Had a small fracture in C5, and, I thank the Lord that I'm actually moving and walking and everything today. So don't do rodeo anymore. I was a barrel man. I was a, professional rodeo clown, a barrel man, a funny man. And don't do that anymore. But I do have horses. I am a horseman. I have 6 horses. Love them all. I don't do much with them except, ride for pleasure. I'm on the sheriff's posse here in my local town that I live in. And we put on some professional rodeo. So I enjoy all of that. I'm Western at heart. And I love training horses. I really do. I love training horses. They are wild animals. They are wild at heart. And they're predator food. They think that we're going to eat them just like a lion or a tiger. So it's really special when you can build a relationship with this wild animal. And finally, that wild animal trust you. They choose to trust you. They choose to love you. And then they do things because you ask it to. So now, as I'm finally, getting a first touch with a horse, and then finally putting a bridle on it, and then moving to where I can put a blanket and then a saddle, and then that horse allows me to climb up on top of it, and then it's really paying attention to what I want it to do. It's always looking at me, his ears are turned towards me, truly trying to feel, what am I asking this horse to do? And it does it because it wants to, because it chooses to, because it loves me. Everybody's looking for a relationship like that, don't you think? Aren't you looking for somebody who may be your soulmate that truly chooses to trust you and chooses to love you, and every single day tries to figure out what you want them to do, and they do it just because they love you and just because they trust you? That's a relationship. That's me. Personally, guys, that's who John Puryear is. Now, I do believe in a calling. I do believe that EMS is a calling from a higher power. I am a Christian. I believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I respect all religions, and whatever religion you are, then that's fine, and I respect that. But you need to know who I am. You need to get to know who John Puryear is. And I do believe in a higher power. I believe in a creator of this entire universe, of you and me. And I believe that creator has put a calling on our lives to be a medic. I don't think that we choose our destiny. I think that our destiny chooses us. And guys, if you have come to my website, then I believe that this is not a coincidence. I believe that you and I were destined to meet, and you are destined to be sitting there looking at this computer and watching a video on who John Puryear is. So the calling, I don't believe that we make a choice to become a medic. I really don't. Who in their right mind would actually choose to do and see what we do? Seriously, guys, let me take my hat off for a minute. Who in their right mind would truly choose to be able to do and see the things that we're going to do and see in our career of pre-hospital medicine? Who's going to see the 2-year-old child who is now in a closet, who is chained to a cabinet with a dog collar around their neck? And they have dog bowls down there, one with water in it and one with food in it. And they've been drinking and eating out of those dog bowls in that dark closet for the last 2 months. Okay? And you're the one who actually opens the door and finds that 2-year-old child curled up in a fetal position, scared to death, wide-eyed, wondering what kind of harm they're going to receive this time. Who's going to see the blood and guts? Who's going to see the mutilation that we're going to see to our fellow mankind? Who wants to see that? Who chooses to see that? Really? Did you wake up one day and just all of a sudden just make a choice and say, you know what? I want to be a medic. That's exactly what I want. I want to be a medic. I want to see the demise of my fellow mankind. I want to see how bad they can be mutilated, how bad they can be molested, how bad they can be treated. No, I'm sorry. I don't believe that anybody in their right mind would choose to do and see what we see throughout our career. I think that it is a calling. I believe it is a calling of a higher power that has been placed on our lives, and we can't not do this. As much as we may want to get out of this business, if you've been doing this for many, many years, and now all of a sudden you're experiencing burnout. Burnout's not a bad thing. It's just part of the job. It's part of our career. The question is, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with that burnout? Are you going to quit? Or do you need to be refilled, re-energized to be able to do what you are destined to do? And if you're struggling with passing the National Registry exam, okay, maybe you failed it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many times, and you're sitting there wondering, there's a little voice in your head that says, am I really supposed to do this? Am I really supposed to do this? Because I feel like a failure right now. I can't pass this test. I mean, this test is getting the best of me, and maybe I'm just not meant to do this. Maybe I need to quit and give up. Friends, I don't know where you are in your journey of life right now. I don't know what's going on in your life personally or professionally, and I don't know if you're experiencing any of those little voices inside of your head. But my job as an educator, I am called. My destiny is to be able to teach people, is to be able to teach you, to be able to encourage you, to be able to re-energize you, to be able to fill your cup back up, to be able to take that little voice out of your head that says that you can't do this. My job, my calling, my destiny is to be able to encourage and reassure you that yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are destined to be a medic. You are called to be a medic. You are called, you are destined to help your fellow mankind. My job is to be able to help you do your calling. That's who John Puryear is. That's who I am. That's why I do what I do. So every class that I put on, I try to teach it in a practical way. I want to teach you the hows and the whys and the what ifs and everything about the human body. I'm really big on the pathophysiology of the body. I want to teach you what is normal. Why the body does what it does normally. Because if I can help you understand the normal, then you'll be able to pick up on the abnormal, and then you'll know how to fix the abnormal to get it back to normal. So I use stories, I compare things, grapes to the respiratory system, I compare a toilet flushing to refractory periods, the absolute and the relative refractory period. I compare the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, to taking a shower or, getting hot water and cold water and what happens when somebody flushes the toilet. That's what I do. I compare it to normal everyday things. In my life story, that's what I compare it to be able to help you understand it and get it. So anyway, that's who John Puryear is. Guys, I thank you very much for being able to stop by and watch my video on who John Puryear is. And I really hope that you choose to take some of my classes. I have live online classes. I have recorded CE classes that you can take on your own pace at your own time. But every one of my classes are taught by me, and I use these practical stories and practical type of things to compare so you can learn to be able to do what you're called to do, to fulfill your destiny. Remember, you're called to be a medic. Thank you very much, and God bless you, and I hope that you find what you're looking for on my site.